welcome you on into another episode of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. It's Mitch Spinell alongside Mitchell Balla here to give you the latest of what's going on in the world of athletics. Mitch, good to be back with you, man. We have the start of sectional week in baseball, some district action in softball as we are rounding down some of the action in spring sports as well as the rest of what's going on in the world.
Postseason play is sometimes the best type of play, Mitch. I am very excited to cover it, break it down, preview some new matchups coming up. And before you know it, at the end of this week, we'll be crowning district champions in softball. And I'm very intrigued to see who the last team standing is in that district.
Absolutely. Before we get to what's happening for the rest of the show, we will tell you what's happening this week in Big Time Sports as far as our broadcasting goes. This Wednesday, May 17th at 7 p.m., you can see the Dover Girls Track Squad of the Big Time Sports Show. We had the girls and boys squads both in the Big Time Sports studio earlier this week as I got a chance to fill in for Charlie Jones and sit down with the squads. We'll see the girls coming up this week on Wednesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. and Friday, May 19th at 10 p.m. Now, as far as the tournaments go in our local action, we have the Division IV District Championship in softball this coming Wednesday, May 17th. You can find that game at 5 p.m. on BigTimeSportsOhio.com, as well as the LBN app, where you can check out your local cable networks, Spectrum 15 and 989, as well as MCTV 128. That game will be on replay on May 17th, Wednesday at 10 p.m., and Thursday, the 18th at 5 p.m. Now, as far as Thursday goes, we have a cross between Stark and Tuscarawas as Dover takes on Massillon in baseball for Thursday. You can find that game on our live stream as well, starting at 5 p.m. and the replay at 10 p.m. on Thursday, May 18th, and Friday, May 19th at 4:30 p.m. I mean, Mitch, we have some new basketball coaches coming up here in the Big Time Sports Show. I mean, take us through that and, take us through what else may be going on in the area.
Yeah, no, Mitch, why not get to know some of these basketball coaches before they even really get things rolling at their new basketball programs at the respective high schools? Join the Big Time Sports TV show Thursday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. and then Saturday, May 20th at 8:30 a.m. Listen, you can watch the new basketball coaches right after you watch the live stream of Dover Massillon, or you could watch it and then watch the replay of the Dover Massillon sectional final game. An evening filled of big time sports and news and, just good info coming out of here about the new basketball coaches that you'll be soon potentially hearing from us about later in the basketball season and reading about in the local papers, Mitch. So why not join Joe Dunn and get to know those coaches a little bit more?
Absolutely. So while we go from that over to our first segment, which, we're talking about upcoming postseason action this week. We already have a few games under our belt. Earlier this week, Monday saw a number of schools competing in sectional baseball and district softball. I want to start with district softball because a lot of the local teams in my area are still in the mix. You had the likes of our game between the Conotton Valley Rockets and the Tuscarawas Central Catholic Saints, which was on Big Time Sports last night. And that game was played at Strasburg, and Conotton Valley dominated in that one, a 16-0 win for the Rockets as they will advance to move on in the tournament. You also have the top seed Strasburg winning their third consecutive game by at least 10 or more runs against Caldwell, 11-1. You also had Indian Valley escaping a 4-0 victory over Morgan, while Claymont lost to Meadowbrook 8-4, and East Canton fell to McDonald 10-0. So we have a couple of teams still in the mix as we take a look here at some of the brackets going into it right now. Strasburg, Indian Valley, and Conotton Valley still in this mix. In the east side of Division 4, it is currently Strasburg set to take on Conotton Valley, number 1 versus number 2 for the district championship. That game will be at Tuscarawas Central Catholic on Thursday at 5 p.m. You can see us here on Big Time Sports. It should be a good matchup as the Tigers come in, as I mentioned, having won 3 consecutive games by 10 or more runs. In this case, the Caldwell squad was the first team to etch a run off of the Tigers for the tournament, as now the Tigers will go on to face Conotton Valley, who they've beaten 2 times this season, were the only 2 losses that Conotton Valley had in the IVC North this year. Now, as for Division 3, because that is where I believe Indian Valley plays, and that is, yes, they will play Richmond Edison will play Byesville Meadowbrook in that upcoming matchup. As far as Indian Valley goes, the Braves will take on the Dover Crimson Tornadoes after Dover was able to win 15-2 over Zanesville West Muskingum in 5 innings on Monday. So it should be a good matchup there. I mean, Mitch, we have a number of games on my side. I mean, what's been going on your end of the woods in terms of postseason play?
Well, Mitch, must like you and your side, a lot of area teams in the tournament still. And a lot of teams are going to be meeting for the second or third time now this season in the district championship, which is very intriguing, sets up phenomenal matchups. We will start in Division One. We will start with the top overall seed, Austintown Fitch. They advanced to their district championship. They'll take on Menor. We'll be quick there because those teams aren't teams we typically cover, but those are teams that local teams may potentially face here later down the road. That's why I wanted to talk about it. In the Northeast 1 sectional district, Walsh Jesuit defeated Paynesville Riverside 5-3 last night in the district semifinal. So Walsh Jesuit advances to the district championship match where they will be taking on the Perry Panthers. Perry stuns the Green softball team last night by a score of 7-1. Green, which ran away with the Federal League crown this year, had one loss on the entire season. This looked like a team that was poised to make a deep run. And they're a very good team. But Mitch, I say it often. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes it's just who is hot at the right time. And not only that, but this Perry team, Mitch, that has just a plethora of knowledge when it comes to coaches with experience of making deep tournament runs, is a team that you most definitely don't want to face. And Perry last night, after a scoreless first inning, puts up 2. And before you know it, they were up by 5 runs in the final of 7-1 over Green. So the Green Bulldogs season comes to a quick end in what was a season they had hoped to make a deep tournament run. And Perry now will take on Walsh Jesuit Wednesday night at 5 p.m. for a spot in the regional semifinals. That will be a very good matchup. And then in Northeast District 3, the Massillon District, Jackson took on Stowe yesterday. That was the 4 seed versus the 8 seed. An extra inning thriller, Mitch. A Big Ten preview, may I add. Julia Gossett for Jackson got the start yesterday, Mitch, and she has been phenomenal all year, like we know. But Stowe also has a plethora of talent over there, including their senior pitcher, Michaela Huddleston, who is a Michigan State recruit. So both these girls are going to be facing each other in the Big Ten here soon. It was Gossett, though, who got the best in a 9-inning, 2-1 win over Stowe yesterday for Jackson to defeat Stowe and advance the district championship. And who they will play, Mitch, it is going to be a rivalry district championship game. They will take on the North Canton Hoover Vikings. The Vikings, who, may I add, had to play in the sectional semifinal and defeated Kent Roosevelt 17-0, then drove all the way to Chardon to take on the 3-seeded Chardon softball team and had a comeback win to beat them 10-8. And then they took on Hoban yesterday at Massillon in the second game of the district semifinals, and they went into extra innings. So fans really got their money's worth yesterday if they went to Massillon to watch softball, because both games go into extra innings. They defeat Hoban 5-3 in the district semifinal matchup. So now Wednesday at 5 p.m. at Massillon, Jackson, Hoover, district championship. This is for all the bragging rights. And really for Hoover, who, if you ask them, Mitch, they would say they had a down year this year in terms of their win-loss record. This is a team that made it to states last year in the Final Four. This is a team that has the coaching and experience and returned a few of those girls from that team last year. And for Jackson, this is one of the top pitchers in the area that you have in Julia Gossett. This is going to be a fun matchup, and I cannot wait to see what happens. A couple other local teams, Mitch, will go to Division II quickly. Marlington softball will take on West Branch softball tonight in the district semifinal matchup. The winner will advance the district championship on Thursday at 4:00. They await the winner of Aurora and Youngstown Ursuline. And then in Division II as well, we still have Northwest. The Northwest softball team is still playing. They will have a very tough test, though, Mitch. They take on Akron Coventry, who is the number 1 overall seed in the Division II girls softball tournament. They are in the Northeast District 4. The winner of that matchup will take on the winner of St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Copley on, we'll call it Thursday at 5 p.m. Some of these tournament times and dates get a little confusing in different divisions, but really that's all the drama we had. It was a lot of drama yesterday here in Northeast Ohio for softball, and a lot of area teams still surviving and advancing. And I can tell you one thing, there will be at least one area team in the regionals between Jackson and Hoover for sure.
For sure. Now we go over to the baseball side, where a number of teams began tournament play on Monday. I mean, we saw actually a good win for Malvern in Division 4. They were able to win over Bellsville 16-10 on their home field. So now they'll move on to face off against top-seeded Berlin Highland on today, actually at 4:30 on Tuesday. A couple other games that we will have in the mix. We had a couple of games yesterday. I should mention Toronto beating Bridgeport in Division 4, Bishop Rosecrans beating Tuscarawas Central Catholic. So the Saints season is done. Newcomerstown able to survive against Shenandoah 8-4. In a good matchup. We mentioned Strasburg and Caldwell. The Tigers beat the Redskins 2-1. So the Tigers go on to face Monroe Central after Monroe Central upset the 2 seed in Division 4 East bracket, Steubenville Catholic Central. So a possibility for Strasburg to advance to the districts once again. Or let's say for Monroe Central as well. Conotton Valley and Shadyside went 5 innings as the Rockets won 10-0. And Frontier was able to beat Hannibal River 2-0 for the rounding out of the Division 4 East bracket. In Division 3, we had Garaway beating Belmont Union Local 7-3 to advance to play Barnesville, who beat Tusky Valley 6-3 on Monday. We also had Richmond Edison beating West Muskingum 6-4. They will take on Beverly Fort Fry, who is the number 1 seed in the East bracket. Buckeye Trail was the 2 seed. They will take on Bel Air, who beat Coshocton 8-1. Harrison Central beat Ridgewood 1-0. And Martins Ferry was able to pull off a win over Sandy Valley 7-5. As Harrison Central will face off against Martins Ferry. In Division 2, we have a couple of teams in there. We have New Philadelphia as a 6 seed. They got a first round bye, so they will take on Philo, who was able to win 5-1 over Meadowbrook on Monday. And then Claymont lost to Buckeye Local 5-4. So Local will take on 4th seed St. Clairsville, who received a bye. 2 teams that received a bye were Indian Creek and John Glenn. They are 8 seeds and 13 seeds, respectively. They'll play today, while 2 seed Tri Valley will take on 12 seed Steubenville after the Big Red beat Beaver 11-0. And as you mentioned, on the other side of Division 2 East bracket, Indian Valley, the number 1 seed, they will take on East Liverpool, who beat Minerva 10-0 on Monday in 5 innings. Carrollton and Maysville both got byes. They will take on each other at 5 p.m. on Tuesday today. Cambridge they will take on McConnelsville Morgan, who beat Zanesville 12-2, and Riverview will open up tournament play against West Holmes starting at 5 o'clock on this Tuesday. I mean, Mitch, number of squads in the Federal League gearing up for their start to the baseball tournament. Who are some teams that we can expect to be competitive here the next coming days? Like, who's going to be competing in the next these few games?
And so with that, Mitch, Division 1 starts tonight on Tuesday.
Yes.
A couple other divisions got underway last night, like Division 2, and I'm going to start there actually. Alliance, who's the number 1 overall seed in the Louisville district, found out they will be taking on Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, who defeated Youngstown Cheney 20-2. Marlington found out they will be taking on Madison, who defeated Jefferson 6-5. And then West Branch will take on Salem. Salem defeated Streetsboro 5-4. And so that district or sectional championship is set. Northwest in Division 2, Northeast District 3, a 26-0 winner over Cleveland Glenville. They will now take on Menor Lake Catholic. Holy Name defeated Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's. They advanced to face Kenston. Padua defeated local team Canton South last night 6-1. So the Canton South baseball season has come to an end. And then Norton was another team in action last night. They will take on Creston Norway. In Division 1, Mitch, a lot of these matchups are about to get very entertaining. Glen Oak has a first round bye in the Northeast 1 Macedonia district. They await the winner of Nordonia and Boardman. That game is tonight. Louisville has a first round bye. They will host the winner of Lake and Willoughby South. That game is tonight as well. If it's Louisville and Lake, those are 2 teams that have already played each other actually just a few weeks ago. So familiarity there could be very intriguing. That district, by the way, is the district in which Walsh Jesuit is the top overall seed. In the Euclid district, Green and Perry square off tonight. So not only did Green and Perry play in softball yesterday, those 2 teams square off tonight in playoff action over at Green High School, where the 19th seeded Green Bulldogs host the 30th seeded Perry Panthers. The winner of that will advance to take on Stowe Monroe Falls. Those are the only 2 local teams in Northeast District 2, in which that district, the Aurora Greenmen, are the top overall seed. And then Northeast District 3, the Canton district. And this is where a lot of local teams come into play, Mitch. The Hoover Vikings take on Euclid tonight over at North Canton. The winner of that game will advance to take the top overall seed, Jackson, on Thursday night at Jackson at 5 p.m. Assuming it's Hoover, which crazy things can happen. I'm not going to say Hoover's going to win. I'm not going to say Euclid could pull the upset. This is playoff baseball. Anything can happen. Should Hoover win, though, Mitch, it will set up a rematch between Jackson and Hoover. Both teams split this year on the other team's home field. Jackson was a 7-3 winner at Hoover this year, and then Hoover an 8-0 winner at Jackson Hoover actually jumped at this matchup, Mitch. They had a choice of where they wanted to go. So it's safe to say the Vikings have some confidence to take on Jackson, a team that really, Mitch, gave Jackson one of their worst losses of the season this year. 8-0 on the road over at Jackson is a very hard thing to do. Mason Ashby was the pitcher in that game, and he's been the day 2 starter all season long, Mitch. So there's a chance that Mason Ashby is the one starting on the mound should Hoover win tonight and take on Jackson. Thursday night, big time sports game of the week here in Stark County. Dover and Massillon taking each other on in the sectional championship over at Massillon High School. Mitch, those two teams just played a couple weeks ago too. Familiarity is definitely a factor there as well. McKinley tonight will host Cleveland John F. Kennedy. McKinley, the 20th overall seed, John F. Kennedy, the 35th overall seed. The winner of that will take on Chardon. And then the last teams in that bracket, Akron Ellet, East Lake North face off tonight. The winner advances to take on Hoban on Thursday night for Division I. A couple other local teams in action. Don't have the scores right in front of me. Canton Central Catholic, though, is going to take on the winner of Tuslaw and Mapleton. Fairless took on Cuyahoga Heights last night. The winner of that game was going to take on Worcester Triway, who was the number 1 overall seed in Division III Northeast District 4. And a Lake Center Christian, Mitch, awaits the winner from tonight of St. Thomas Aquinas and Southington Chalker. Lake Center Christian, the number 1 overall seed in Division IV Northeast District 1. This is a team that lost the district championship last year in the Struthers district up at Bob Scene Park in Youngstown. And this is a team that not only wants to get back to the district championship and win it, but they have their sights set on a deep tournament run, and rightfully so. They won their first ever conference title in school history this year. They are led by catcher Wyatt Feather, Bubba Feather, who's one of the top hitting catchers and just hitters in Stark County, Mitch. I believe he's one of the top 3, if not the top player in terms of bringing in runners in the RBI category. Lake Center Christian is a team to watch out for. And finally, East Canton in action tonight. They will take on Warren Lordstown. The winner of that game will take on McDonald on Thursday night.
Sounds good. When we come back here, we'll be going over some more high school news, including some changes you might be seeing this upcoming winter to high school basketball. Stay with us. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week, visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partner with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, For every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Vive Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vive Auto Sales.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Manella, Mitchell Balla. Mitch, throughout our lives, when we grew up kind of playing high school basketball, we always had the similar rules. I mean, we pretty much had the same rules throughout our lives. There were no major changes from when I remember growing up all the way through going into high school. And one of those rules was when you got to a certain amount of fouls per half, not per quarter, let's say I think it was around 7, you would then be allowed to shoot free throws on a common foul rather than just taking the ball out. And it'd always be at 1 and 1, with that term meaning you get 1 free throw, and if you make that, you get another free throw. If you miss, ball's up for grabs, basically. Well, that might be changing here now. The NFHS, the National Federation of State High School Associations, yesterday put out this statement saying that beginning next year, high school basketball teams will shoot 2 free throws for common fouls when in the bonus. This change to what is considered Rule 4-8-1 eliminates the 1-and-1 scenario and sets new foul limits for each quarter when awarding the bonus free throw. It continues on to say, in addition to awarding 2 foul shots for all common fouls, teams will reach the bonus when their opponent commits 5 fouls in each quarter and team fouls reset at the end of each quarter. So this is essentially adopting the NBA style of the foul bonuses. Goes on to say that previously teams were awarded the 1-and-1 bonus when their opponents committed 7 fouls in a half and 2 foul shots when 10 fouls were committed each half. That was known as the double bonus. I'm gonna refer to this article in just a little bit, but I did reach out to OHSAA Director Doug Ute yesterday, and his response is that the OHSAA would adopt these rulings per the NFHS into next season. So it looks like this coming fall, we should come to expect kids adjusting to keeping track of their fouls, not only individually, but 5 fouls per quarter means you're sending that team to the line.
Which is crazy because typically, I mean, it's going to be an adjustment, right? When you have grown up and you've played by one way and one rule your entire life, Mitch, it's going to take some time. But at the same time, when you read why the rule was made and why they decided to do it, and this is in your blog on bigtimesportsohio.com, the rules committee studied data that showed higher injury rates on rebounding situations and saw this as an opportunity to reduce opportunities, for rough play during rebounding.
Yeah, and that is a quote from Lindsay Atkinson, the NFHS Director of Sports and Liaison to the Basketball Rules Committee.
And I'm all for anything to possibly reduce injury risk, right? Sure. There's been a lot more, and it's just with the times we're in, there's a lot more opportunities for studies and tests to be conducted. And, if this is a reason that some players are unfortunately losing time on the floor or ultimately a whole season due to injury, I'm all for that. But at the same time, in that same quote from Lindsay Atkinson, additionally, she says, resetting the fouls each quarter will improve game flow and allow teams to adjust their play by not carrying foul totals to quarters 2 and 4.
Yes.
There's been a lot of complaining that teams, when they're up big, it's not a lot of game flow, that people want a shot clock, and we might be able to get into that here soon. But I'm also all for speeding up the gameplay and allowing better flow of a high school basketball game, Mitch. I think this is a win-win in both scenarios because, one, for the players, safety is the most important, right? Just not just for their basketball career in high school or if they're lucky enough to move on, but also for life. There's players that get hurt and ultimately it affects them the rest of their life. But also as a fan and as media like you and I are covering games, for better game flow, I think it also promotes a better product. And so I am actually okay with this rule change. I'm not saying it's not going to be easy at first. I'm sure there's going to be confusion a couple times next season, because when you've had one rule your entire life, we know a lot of people don't like change, and change is not easy. And so now for this to be put in so quickly, we'll see what type of an effect it has on coaches and teams and players. But I'm excited to see this, and I'm very intrigued to see if it really does reduce the injuries that we may see during and one opportunities and free throws on a missed foul shot on the first attempt.
You know, as much as the injury point that was made in the article via the quote by Atkinson, I think that second point is where a lot of them might be really trying to focus in on, especially the example that you just mentioned, along with the fact that once you get to that certain part of the game where teams are really starting to rack up the fouls, it is a lot of just free throw contests, especially in close games, to try and see who can match up against the other. You know, I'm fine with it as well. It's an interesting change because going back to what I said, I take back what I said initially about the no major changes in my time. The only one that I think has really changed was, from what I remember, and I might be wrong on this, from what I remember, on free throw attempts, you were not allowed to make a move if you were standing in the paint or alongside the paint before the ball hit the rim. Nowadays, when I watch high school games, it seems like there's a lot of traffic starting to build as soon as the ball is released from the shooter's hand. I mean, that's the only one I can think of, and that could cause potentially some scrap ups and maybe some injuries there as well. So I can see why they might be trying this out. The NBA has always been the different one in that they've always done the resetting fouls per quarter, at least for the last couple of years. And other schools have just adopted the 7 and 10 rule. And alongside that, there were other approved rule changes here in the report from the NFHS, including that. Among a couple of just kind of things, Rule 2-1-3 establishing the official placement of a shot clock operator at the scorer's table for those states utilizing the shot clock. Now, Ohio does not currently operate the shot clock, but I do believe there are around 12 states now that do so. And there's potentially an opportunity for the NFHS to adopt that here soon that I'll bring up in a little bit. In fact, I'll bring it up right around here if I can. It was from a report in 2021 from CBS Sports, the NFHS opening the door for states to adopt a 35-second shot clock. They approved that measure, leaving the door open for major change across the hardwood landscape in the coming years. At the time that this was written, it said 9 states use either a 30 or a 35-second one. However, I did try to look this up. It was Oregon last year who adopted this alongside California, Washington, a number of West Coast schools. The only one that I always truly know that used the shot clock was New York, because like it's such a bigger, not so much. I mean, there are a lot more schools, and there's just like a huge central hub, especially in the city, that it can get pretty tricky at times if you're just going to have them run it out, let teams carry the ball for 3 to 4 minutes at a time. So this makes sense to me. And then the other one as well here was, this is an interesting one, 9-3-3. It was amended to allow a player to step out of bounds and return to the court if the player gains no advantage. A player is only penalized if, after returning inbounds, the player is the first to touch the ball or avoids a violation. So I'm trying to think of a scenario where that might be the case, whether a player gets shoved out of bounds and then there's a loose ball, so he tries to pick it up and then can't. Yeah, again, these most of the biggest thing about this ruling is the foul shot thing. And I'm very curious as to when that first rule that I mentioned, 2-1-3, is going to apply. When do you think we're eventually, because I think it's a matter of when, not if, Ohio is eventually going to adopt the shot clock. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take.
I think that obviously in part of the rule, it says for the shot clock operator at the scores table for states utilizing the shot clock. Yes. most of those schools have shot clocks. I think the bigger issue here, Mitch, is going to be for some schools that maybe cannot afford to buy shot clocks for their gyms. How do we make that possible? Because you can't just have some schools with it and other schools not, and then expect the team that doesn't have one to play with a shot clock. Obviously, it's easy to track, but in terms of how you play with tempo and the way you dictate a basketball game, there's teams, Mitch, that play slow, grinded out basketball here in high school basketball in the state of Ohio, that you see some games, the finals are 29-26. You see others that like to get out and run up and down the court. I just don't know how they're going to be able to get enough funding. I think certain schools can afford to buy shot clocks, but you can't just make it for some schools to have it and others not. This is going to have to be a statewide rule that every team has to have a shot clock. So until they figure out a way to do that, there won't be one. But I am with you. It's not if, it's when. I do believe a shot clock will be coming to Ohio for high school basketball here eventually, especially when not only some players and coaches and administrators and schools and fans complain about it, but Mitch, now you're starting to see more and more professional athletes go to games. And we saw it this year with Donovan Mitchell. He went to a game up in Cleveland saying Ohio needs a shot clock. And I personally think that's only going to make the sport better. I really do, because you go from no shot clock to a shot clock in college if you move on to play in college. And I think if you can have everything almost to a level playing field from high school to college to professional basketball, it's the right move to make. And I'm intrigued. I really am, because I think high school basketball needs a shot clock. When it happens, though, we'll have to wait and see.
I remember seeing that tweet from Donovan a few months back, and I can just imagine it being in the game. Like, you guys are still doing this? Like, and that's the thing too. I don't know if they're going to adopt 20. I can't imagine 24 seconds like the NBA. College does 30 seconds. There are some schools that do 30 or 35, depending on the state. I might be wrong on this, but I think it would probably be safe to adopt 35 seconds. You could shave 5 off in college and then have it shave off 11 or 6 more seconds in the NBA. So that's my take on it. But I could see 30 being a potentially good mix for these kids. Like again, I remember one of the most unbelievable games. I'll never forget this. It was Strasburg versus Tuscarawas Central Catholic, my senior year in the district tournament. I believe the district final. I believe, I know it was at New Philadelphia High School. I'll never get this kid. Bo Beamer was the point guard for Tuscarawas Central Catholic. Shout out to him. He held the ball. I think it was for the final 3-4 minutes of halftime. Just stood out just beyond half court. Strasburg had their guys back. He just stood there, and it wasn't like any energy I felt in the high school games before or since then, to where everyone just kind of like, all right, we're doing this. Okay. All right. We're just around here. The student section start yelling at each other. And then he did a thing where he went like this with the ball to try and rile the crowd up, which only got us to keep going harder and harder. Central ended up winning the game anyway, so it didn't matter there. All right, when we come back, we'll go into some NBA stuff. We'll go into some Guardian stuff, some Brown stuff here as we'll come back right after this.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
Where you matter. You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. All care. All care, all care. Where you matter.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Employee benefits, although time-consuming and expensive, is one of the top considerations for those making a job change. At Hummel Group, we help businesses craft benefit strategies that align with company goals. Through an emphasis on cost containment, leveraging technology, and benefits administration, we save your team valuable time. Your employees call us with questions, not you. Visit HummelHelps.com or call 800-860-1060. Don't just get insurance. Get Hummel.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla. Mitch, we now shift over to Guardians talk as the team is coming off a heck of a series against the Angels. 2 out of the 3 games were good. The first one, not so much. I got an angry text message from you that particular night before we saw what happened on Saturday and Sunday. But who would have expected history to be made that late in each game by a guy who had seemingly been struggling throughout this quarter of the season before now it seems like he's getting some of his power back in Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor, 3 consecutive nights hitting a go-ahead home run to help the Guardians win 2 out of 3 and seemingly have won that third game before they had some trouble in the 9th inning. Nevertheless, that was a good series victory for the Guardians to get, a team that had been kind of struggling to kind of get these series victories under their belts so that they can keep competing in the American League Central as well as the rest of the American League. It's a good starting point, but Cleveland needs to sort of keep that momentum going if they want to take on some of the squads they're about to face off with.
Absolutely. And look, this is actually, Mitch, really close in date to a year ago when Josh Naylor sparked what a lot of people thought was the turning point in the 22 season, when he had that mammoth game against the White Sox, hitting 2 home runs, the one off Liam Hendricks to, I believe, tie, and then the one in extra innings to go ahead, in which he came in the dugout, threw his helmet, and we know screamed a lot of things that I won't repeat.
Yep.
And sure enough, maybe, 3 to 5 days past the year ago date, he stepped up in a big way. Friday night, he hits a go-ahead home run in the 8th inning. And yes, I did text you after that loss Friday night because that was one of the most irritating losses I've had in terms of an early regular season game. And we can talk about that here in a little bit. But Saturday, Mitch, they looked good as dead. The Guardians did. And really, it kind of made you think that Friday night may have been a turning point. The way they lost that game, I told you, I thought it was an epic collapse of how the Guardians lost that game.
Yeah.
And then Josh Naylor stepped up to the plate again in the 8th inning after the Guardians offense kind of, Mitch, did something that we're not used to seeing. And that's score runs, multiple runs in an inning. And for the second night in a row, he steps up and hits a go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 8th inning. And then Sunday rolls around. Tanner Bybee was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
The rookie is really making a name for himself up here right now, Mitch. And, I had mentioned it after just 2 starts. I thought he deserved to stay up here for a while. I truly believe that even when McKenzie comes back and Savale, who I believe both are not far away from potentially joining this team, Bybee has to stay with how he's pitched. I mean, he went 7 2/3, gave up 1 run. He was sensational, but the Guardians still needed something. And so they called upon the guy who did it 2 nights in a row. They called upon Josh Naylor in the bottom of the 8th inning for the 3rd straight day, and he went yard. And so this is from Elias Sports Bureau. Josh Naylor is the first player in the expansion era, which is since 1961,
yes,
to hit a go-ahead home run in the 8th inning or later in 3 straight games. And Mitch, it looked like the Guardians may have found something. Not in Josh Naylor. We know what he's capable of. We know he actually, Mitch, really is pretty clutch when you need him to come up sometimes. We saw it last year in the postseason. We've seen it numerous times throughout the regular season. The Guardians may have found something in terms of where they needed a big time win, and just nobody seemingly had stepped up yet this season. And Naylor did it 3 straight nights. But not only that, Mitch, that Saturday night game where they were down 6-2, and they chipped away, and they chipped away, and they chipped away. There was games this year when they were down 3-0. Oh, it's over. This team can't score 2 runs. This team can't do it. And everybody in the lineup, for the most part, really got things going. Andres Jimenez then hits the home run after Naylor on Saturday, which was a huge at bat for him because he's really been struggling. And they pick up a big time series win. They're now only 3 games behind the Twins in the American League Central Division. They've only played them 3 times so far this season. They won the series. They have 10 games remaining against the Twins. But now, Mitch, they go into a little bit of a stretch where if you're looking at the name, you might say, ooh, this could be a tough stretch. But when you look at the records of who they're coming up to play, the Guardians have to handle business now. And if this is exactly where they turn the season around, Josh Naylor is the man to be held responsible for turning the season around 2 straight years. And they play the White Sox now, who are 14-28. They are one of the biggest disappointments in baseball. Now there's fans that want Tim Anderson out of Chicago after he was caught on camera. One report says, I hate these fans. The other report says he claims to say, I hate it here. Either way, to say that at your home ballpark and for the cameras to catch you, not a good spot to be in if you're Tim Anderson. And then they play the New York Mets, Mitch. The New York Mets, who right now suck. And I say right now because that team has so much talent, they could easily flip a switch and turn it on, much like the Guardians may have done over the weekend against the Angels. But now, when you're against these teams, specifically the White Sox, you have to win these series because we know you're not allowed to beat up on the Centrals much anymore. You're going to play some really good teams here throughout the summer now since you're playing everybody in Major League Baseball for the first time in a long time. But from where I was at Friday, texting you, telling you that was it, that was the most frustrating loss, that was an epic collapse, this team's done, to where I was on Mother's Day on Sunday, a complete 180 of emotions, a whirlwind of emotions, and I'm really hoping that this team found something and can carry it over to Chicago starting tonight.
Yeah, not just to Chicago, but a rare instance of the Guardians or Cleveland playing in Queens. Never see them usually play at the Mets Stadium. I don't usually play the Mets in general. But yeah, especially that Saturday night game where it seemed like a lot of things are going strangely wrong. You had, what was it, that one base running error? Well, it was one base running error on a sacrifice fly that didn't allow Quan to score. And I can't remember who exactly it was that got called out there. Rosario, I figured, yeah. But yeah, and then it was turned around on Sunday when I can't remember who exactly it was for the Angels, but it was on that throw to first. I got away from the first base for a little bit. He kind of broke for second a little bit. He's like, all right, I'll go back to first base, but he turned the wrong way. Actually, I don't even know if he turned the wrong way, but because you break for second in Major League Baseball, doesn't matter either way. You have to commit.
As soon as if you go through that bag and you turn left, even if you're not going, that is deemed a move towards second base, which means if you were tagged, you're out. That's why a lot of times, Mitch, when you're younger, you're taught to run through the base and always look right. And if you see that ball getting away, then you go.
Right.
Sometimes it's an umpire's discretion and the call if he thinks a runner made the move, but Major League Baseball, as soon as you kind of flip those hips to the left side, there's that. And on Sunday, Mitch, we had a rare instance. I don't know if you knew this. Shohei Ohtani's human.
Yes.
Shohei Ohtani made a giant base running blunder in the top of the 9th inning as he was the tying run. And Jose Ramirez made a great heads up play to tag Ohtani, who tried to go from second to third on a ground ball to Ramirez.
Right.
It was just like, what are you doing? You were the tying run in scoring position. And so
the way that ball was hit was very strange. I mean, I guess he was trying to advance to try and get only 90 feet between the tying run But yeah, that was a very strange one. And Jose did sacrifice it, even though a run did score on that play. That was where we thought, oh God, is Clase gonna blow this one again? Because those first couple of hits really got scary. And but you mentioned Bybee striking out Ohtani twice, Karinchak coming in and getting a big out on Mike Trout pinch hitting. And that one was huge. So that was a great performance by the pitching that day as they now go to Chicago. Those are some ones you could probably afford to pick up here.
I have a random question. This is a conversation my dad and I were having watching the game, because seemingly somehow every single time a reliever was brought in for Cleveland, or anytime the ninth inning rolled around, the Angels were always at the 2-3-4 mark, which was Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
Do the Angels have the most fearful 2-3-4 hitters in a lineup out of anybody in Major League Baseball?
Apparently not, because they're only 22-20 right now. But in all seriousness, I mean, on paper, yes. On paper, you would think. I don't know. It's just an unfortunate circumstance for that team who's still got a winning record, but they're going to get lost here in the shuffle here, as they're now in third place behind Texas and Houston, the two Texas squads. But yeah, we shall see. Also, can we stop? I know it's not going to go anywhere. It's probably not going to go anywhere. Can we stop saying that Aaron Judge was looking for a signal last night? I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh. And of all people, one of my favorite, I believe that was Dan Shulman on the Blue Jays play-by-play. Of all people, like, I respect the heck out of him. He's one of my favorite baseball casters. Come on, man. Like, that doesn't seem like, I get the whole thing of what's he looking over there for? Like, yeah, it might seem strange. And Judge said it was because of the team chirping, or his own team chirping. It's like, people can look to the right a little bit while they're batting. It's not just you would think if they're going to be cheating for signals, it's not going to be from the dugout itself. They're going to do it from some way away part of the stadium, in the crowd, or whatever they have to do. I just don't. That was one where I'm like, okay, guy, okay. That doesn't seem, no.
It was odd. I mean, like, that's all I'm saying. It was definitely odd. And for them to say they've seen him do it before, I can't attest whether he has or not. I certainly have never seen something like that before, to where they have a camera on him to be able to see his eyes shift over here to the right, looking before a pitch comes in. Look, I think everybody now, Mitch, nowadays is just worried about stealing signs, getting tipped off for pitches because of what the Houston Astros did back in 2017. And rightfully so, because I think a lot of people are still upset they have not properly been punished. At the same time, I tend to think it's a coincidence that they caught that and then Judge hit a home run. I mean, the guy is currently on a tear since he's come back from the injured list. Yeah. I mean, how many home runs against Tampa Bay in their series over the weekend? I think at least 3, almost 4. He flew out to the warning track to end a game. And then he hits another one last night. This is a guy that hit 62 last year.
Yeah.
Nobody ever made a certain point to look at his eyes last year. I don't think he's cheating. I don't know why he was looking over there. I just tend to don't know if I agree with his reasoning for looking over there, because you're getting chirped by somebody.
Right.
Almost 90% of the time when you're a professional athlete.
I mean, I've done that before, where when I'm set into my stance, and I'll just kind of like look over. If I hear something stupid, I'll just kind of briefly look over and then look back. But that I believe that was right as the pitch was coming, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was necessary. I mean, that's got to be even harder, you would think, because taking your eye off the ball can spell not just trouble for you as a hitter, but danger for you as a hitter. All right, when we come back, I want to go over some stuff that happened this weekend, including one very interesting trade the Browns made. Stay with us. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro.
Through an
NST
emphasis on
designs
cost
each
containment,
program
leveraging
specific
technology,
to the
and
athlete's
benefits
needs, goals,
administration,
and sports.
we save your team
For
valuable
more,
time.
visit
Your employees call us with
nstsports.com.
questions, not you.
Locations in North
Visit
Canton and New
HummelHelps.com or
Philadelphia.
call
It's
800-860-1060.
nstsports.com.
Don't just get insurance. Get Hummel.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100
Five
years
Auto
of
Sales,
combined
located on
experience
West High
handling real
Avenue in
estate
New
title and
Philadelphia
escrow
and Cleveland
transactions.
Avenue in
They
Canton
serve
is a used car
Tuscarawas,
dealership
Stark,
committed to getting
Carroll,
financing
Harrison
for everyone.
counties, and more.
We give every
So choose
customer
Albin
that
Title
walks in
for
our
your next
showrooms
home
a prime buying
refinance,
experience,
sale, or
no
purchase.
matter their credit
They'll
score
get it
or
done
financial
quickly
situation.
and professionally.
Current
Contact
inventory
Albin
can
Title
be
at
viewed at
330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com.
Check out our Facebook pages for
Let
the
them
most
put their
up-to-date
experience to
information
work for
about
you.
upcoming events and promotions happening at Vive Auto
Hard
Sales.
work is something you're accustomed to.
We all have
Van
206
Nostrand Young
things in common.
understands that
Our bones
principle.
keep us up and moving.
Our access
And we
is
at Cleveland
achieved
Clinic
with
Union
organizations
Hospital
like
care
Grange
about Every
Insurance.
single one of them.
Safety and
From the tip of
prevention
your finger
specialists
to a
utilize our
brand new
Van
hip,
Can assessments
our
process
orthopedic
to
experts
ensure
will
that
keep you
you
going
and your
while
colleagues
keeping you
are in the
safe.
best hands.
For every break and
You want the
breakthrough,
safest environment for
every
your
ball and
business,
joint, for
and we
every
can
care
guide
in
you
the
there.
world.
Call Van Nostrand
Get the
Young
care you
Insurance
need
in North
when
Canton
and
at
where you need it.
330-497-1867.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's
work is
Quality
something
Housing is
you're
here to help.
accustomed to.
Take advantage of record low
Van
interest
Nostrand
rates to
Young
make your new home
understands
a
that
reality.
principle.
Locally owned and operated
Our
since
access is
1978,
achieved with
Hartzler's Quality
organizations like
Housing
Grange
has the
Insurance.
experience to guide you through the
Safety and
process.
prevention
You'll find a wide
specialists
selection of
utilize our
model
Van Can
homes
assessment
on site to fit
process
any
to
budget.
ensure that
Open
you
6
and your
days a week
colleagues
just off
are in the
I-77.
best
You can
hands.
also visit them online
You
at
want the safest
hartzlers.com.
environment for your
Hartzler's
business.
Quality Housing.
We can
Quality
guide you
from
there.
start
Call
to
Van
finish.
Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's
You
what
deserve the
get.
best.
And at
We
Ferris
consider
Chevrolet,
you,
Buick,
the
Cadillac,
customer,
Toyota, to
that's
be part
what
of
you get.
our family.
We consider
Anybody
you,
can make
the
promises,
customer,
but
to
when
be
you
part
visit
of
Ferris,
our
you
family.
get the Ferris
Anybody
deal
can make
from a
promises,
Ferris
but
wheel.
when you visit
So
Ferris,
if you're looking
you
for a
get
car,
the
truck, or
Ferris
van,
deal from a
think
Ferris
Ferris.
wheel.
So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like nugs without the sauce.
If
Or
you're
a
purchasing a new
Frosty
home, the
without
team
the
at Hartzler's
fries.
Quality Housing is
Or a
here to help.
hamburger
Take
without the
advantage of
fresh
record low
beef.
interest rates to make your new home a reality.
Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Hartzler's Quality Housing.
Get
Quality
out of the
from
dugout
start
and
to
onto
finish.
the field with help from Velocity Sports.
Wendy's without the
Velocity
Wendy's app
Sports
is
is a
like
baseball and
nugs without the
softball
sauce.
training academy with
Or a
locations in
Frosty
North
without
Canton
the fries.
and Canal Fulton.
Or a
Our new
hamburger
Canal
without
Fulton
the fresh
features
beef.
10,000 square feet of training space with
Get
6
the app to order
cages for
ahead,
hitting and
order
pitching
delivery,
and a
earn
large
free food,
commercial
and
weight
get
room.
app exclusive
Velocity Sports
offers.
will sharpen your
One
skills
app,
and get
all the
you
Wendy's.
in the starting lineup.
Offer for a limited
For
time
more
at participating
info,
Wendy's.
go to
Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in
VeloSportsOhio.com.
contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Turning 65 soon or already on Medicare? Hummel Group can help you explore your options and find a plan that fits your unique healthcare needs and budget. Our experienced agents provide personalized advice and help you compare plans from top insurance carriers for free. We're here to help you find the Medicare plan that's right for you. Visit HummelHelps.com or call 800-860-1060 to speak to an agent about Medicare. Don't just get insurance, get Hummel.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell alongside Mitchell Ballas. So, Mitch, as we were going into the weekend, we got some news that broke late Friday night. The Cleveland Browns making kind of a, I don't want to say a late offseason trade, but we're kind of in the we're in the mix there. We're past the wave of free agency. We're past the draft, and we decided to go get a linebacker in Zadarius Smith from the Minnesota Vikings, essentially making a move with one of our former members of personnel, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who is now the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. Interesting kind of move here. I mean, Smith is a 3-time Pro Bowl at his position, just basically swapped a couple of picks for him as alongside some picks. Good move by the Browns. I mean, it is a good move by the Browns, I think, but where does that leave the defense as it currently stands? I mean, how threatening is that Browns pass rush now?
Mitch, they now get somebody that is a full complement on the opposite side of that defensive line for Myles Garrett. 3 straight years now, Andrew Berry has went out trying to find somebody to complement Myles Garrett on the other side. The past 2 years, it's been Jadeveon Clowney both times, obviously both on 1-year deals. Now you go out, you get a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he led the Vikings in sacks last year. He had 10 sacks. He had 32 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble. He has 54.5 career sacks, 9 forced fumbles. This is a player that the Browns so desperately needed. And we thought they may have got him when they made a couple signings early in the offseason during free agency. The name escaping my mind, but the defensive end from Texans, Okoronkwo, I believe it was.
Yeah, Obo Okoronkwo, yeah.
Now they go out and get someone that's a little more proven. And it's on a 1-year deal for him as well. So it's a prove it year for him. So he has to perform well to get a contract he wants if he thinks he's worth a lot of money. And that's the type of signing I like. And now you have depth. Our issue for the longest time is either we were never big enough on the defensive line, we didn't have enough depth, or in last year's case, both. We didn't have enough depth or size. And now the Browns have addressed all those needs. And to make a trade after the NFL draft is kind of bizarre. Typically, you don't see it happen a whole lot, especially not of a player of this magnitude like Zadarius Smith, but he's a player that has familiarity in the AFC North. He was drafted by the Ravens, went on to play with the Packers, and then ended up in Minnesota. I love this signing. I really do. Or the trade, really, especially when you see what the Browns gave up. The Browns give up 2 draft picks and get 2 more in return along with Zadarius Smith. And per Ian Rappaport, when I was listening to something he was on the other day, he thought this trade was going to happen before the NFL draft, as most teams like to make deals before then. So you know what the compensation is to make draft picks.
Sure.
And then it never happened. And then immediately after the draft, there was rumors and people telling him in his ear that the Browns had called again for Zadarius Smith. And lo and behold, on a quiet Friday night, Andrew Berry goes out and does what Andrew Berry's been so good at recently, and making moves to a point where Browns fans can't really be upset at the move when you see what they gave up.
No, I just want to make sure I got the numbers here. It was the Browns trading for Smith, and in exchange for that, they ended up giving, I'm trying to get the numbers here. Yes, okay.
I got it.
So they got Zadarius Smith, a 6th-round pick in 2025, and a 7th-round pick in 2025. That's the Browns received. Vikings in return got a 5th-round pick for next year and a 5th-round pick for the following year. Really not too shabby to get 2 picks in the future in exchange for 2 picks for a little bit sooner, and then you get this player. Yeah, Smith is coming off of a year in which he was able to kind of return to form following only playing in 1 game in 2021. Even got some comeback player of the year votes. Very interesting. I like what he can bring to the defense, which, give me as many defensive players as you can at this point. Quality defensive players, because the Browns defense just needs to lock down enough for the offense to try and work itself back into shape in 2023 following last year. Okay, now it's time, Mitch. Did I say it or did I not say it? Did I say it or did I not say it? Did I say it or did I not say it? I said it 3 times because I wanted to pull up the graphic here onto the screen, and I can't immediately, but now I will. The Philadelphia 76ers, I said it going into this weekend. If they dropped that game 6 to Boston and dropped that game 7 to the Celtics, they were not going to keep Doc Rivers around for much longer. Lo and behold, Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting today that Doc Rivers is out after 3 seasons. Mitch, it seemed weird at the time. It felt weird after that first season. It felt weirder after that second season. And now it's too weird for even the most loyal of Sixers fans to say, you know what? This is our guy. Because our guy lost the series lead again. And he lost it, Mitch, with a lead in game 6 at home, where Jason Tatum was having the worst shooting performance in an elimination game since maybe John Starks in the finals in 94. That's how mind-boggling it was when Boston was able to win that game, because Tatum was able to get hot late. And then game 7 was that was rough for Philly fans to watch. And that second half, when they just pulled away, kept raining threes. Embiid and Harden looked like they weren't going to show up, and then they didn't. I don't know what to say. Where does this process go? 10 years in the making to now, where you still have not even reached the conference finals.
The process has come to an end. I mean, that's about what you can say. The Philadelphia 76ers are who we have seen over the past few years. Doc Rivers is exactly who we all know he is. A great regular season coach, Mitch. He is now 4th all time for consecutive winning seasons as a head coach, dating back to 2007, all the way now to today in 2023, 16 consecutive winning seasons of the regular season. And he also has now lost the most game 7s in NBA history, and it's not even close. Doc Rivers lost for the 10th time at a game 7, including 5 straight game 7s he's now lost. And it's also 9 straight times that Rivers has lost with a chance to reach the conference finals as a head coach. He is not a playoff coach. He has won an NBA final championship with the Celtics back in 2008 or 2009. And that team was very great. I mean, listen, they were really the first super team, if you will, in terms of having a big 3 when they went out and added Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen with Paul Pierce, they had Rondo, Perkins, a number of other guys off the bench. But you called it. I figured it was happening. I think anybody that knew anything about NBA basketball figured it was happening. And I don't care how bad they lost and how bad they looked. I think if they lost, he was getting fired regardless. But losing 112 to 80 something, whatever the final score was, I don't know, because I shut the game off in the 4th quarter, obviously did not help his case. And now the Sixers, Mitch, are in a spot where you don't want to be. You do not have a head coach. James Harden is a player option, which it looks like he's going to opt out of. There's a lot of rumors swirling that he wants to go back to Houston. And Joel Embiid, the MVP, Mitch, is a very great player. He's one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
He is not a player, though, that can step up and carry a team now in the playoffs. And we have now seen it for numerous years in a row. Because whether you want to say, well, he didn't get the ball in game 6 in the last 4 minutes. You're the MVP. You demand the ball in the last 4 minutes. I don't care who's handling the ball. I don't care if it's James Harden, who's a former MVP. And then game 7, the effort from him and James Harden was pathetic. It really was. James Harden, I believe, was outscored by all 4 in the starting lineup, other 4. And Joel Embiid was outscored by the other 3 in the starting lineup outside of James Harden, who scored less than him. How do your top 2 players not show up? And your bench, which you really didn't get a whole lot of production out of in a few of the other games, finally showed up. PJ Tucker hit 3 3-pointers in the first quarter, or maybe in the first half. It was a train wreck, and the process is over. And I don't know where they could possibly go. Obviously, according to ESPN, there is a number of coaches that the search from the Sixers is expected to include, including Mike Budenholzer.
Yes.
Sam Cassell.
Yes.
D'Antoni.
Yes.
Nurse, Frank Vogel, and Monty Williams.
A lot of the free agents we've been seeing getting canned here in the last couple of days, if not weeks. I mean, look, it's what is it now? Toronto, Milwaukee,
Detroit,
Philly,
and
Phoenix. And yeah, they all need to find their guys here soon. These guys will just swap with each other. I don't expect any like crazy candidates coming out here in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, I mean, Philadelphia, I don't even know if they'll want to bring back Harden based on that huge monetary desire from Harden. Embiid, you can still kind of maybe work around, but maybe work Maxey as your number 1 point guard. I did have somebody bring up the idea on TikTok the other day, maybe to bring in Kyrie if you can get him for a cheap deal, because he can work as your 2, and then you can kind of work around the rest of your bench. But other than that, Boston just came to play, especially with Tatum having a 51-point performance, which broke Steph Curry's 50-point outing from the Kings series from a week ago or so. I don't know, man. Boston just proved once again that they can get it done. And now it's going to be an interesting Eastern Conference Finals between Boston and Miami. And on the other side tonight, we have Nuggets and the Lakers facing off against each other. I don't know where any of these series will truly go. I have no expectations for either series.
So I just want to be clear. These series count now, right? Because there's the whole crowd in the bubble, Mitch, that said the bubble didn't count. And now the 4 teams made the conference finals in the bubble are now in the conference finals.
I'm aware.
Yes. And their rosters are pretty much the same.
I mean, many of these teams made the conference finals last year, if I'm not mistaken. It was Boston and Miami last year, and then not Denver. It was 2 other teams in the West, essentially. But the Lakers, as a 7 seed, it's interesting because they beat a 2-seeded Memphis team that was falling apart. Then you take on a Warriors team where the dynasty looks like it's over. And then you have a Denver squad who's so good that they can take down Phoenix easily. They can take down their first round opponent easily. But Denver doesn't have the generational player in LeBron James. They have a 2-time MVP in Jokic, who's younger, who seems a little more efficient. Doesn't seem like he needs to have as much help from his teammates as much as this version of LeBron does, and the likes of Anthony Davis, or whether Lonnie Walker or Austin Reeves wants to go off on one night. I don't know. I have no expectations for these series because there's no far and away better squad. I shouldn't say that. I mean, there's no far away better squad that you can put significant money on if you're a better, I think.
Yeah. I think the team that looks the best through what we've seen so far is the Denver Nuggets, and they're the number 1 overall seed. And after the playoffs have gone, it looks like they hold what should have been the 3rd consecutive MVP award winner in Jokic. With how
that's tricky. That's tricky because it was between him and Jokic all season. We know this, but even Jokic, people thought, why is this guy a back-to-back MVP? So it's just. This is, some people are wondering if they should make this an after postseason award that you vote on. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you do that, that's where it gets hairy because
what if a guy just goes off in the playoffs and leads his team to a finals and he was like the 6th man the whole year?
You'd have to really have some criteria for if that's the case. Like it would be hairy, but Jokic to me has been the best player in the playoffs so far. I mean, he just averaged almost a triple-double in the round 2 win over Phoenix, and he was sensational. My gut tells me, Mitch, that I think whoever wins the West will have the upper hand in the NBA Finals.
I agree.
But I don't know who I like more. I know who I want to win in both series. I would like to see the Heat beat the Celtics. And what's crazy is this series went 7 games last year, and Jimmy Butler said after that last year, he goes, we'll be back here next year. And lo and behold, the Miami Heat, who were in the play-in, that lost the first play-in game and are now the 8th seed, are now in the conference finals. And when it comes to this, you have to break down so many things. Who was the best player in the series? You probably would give the edge to Tatum, but with how the playoffs have gone so far, Jimmy Butler's not far behind him. Who has the coaching advantage? It's clear cut away. Spoelstra is the better coach.
I think that's what led into Doc getting fired too, because Mazzulla looked a little overwhelmed at times, and he had an excuse. This is his first year. He had never done this before.
And he didn't get a full off season. He found out he was the head coach like a month before the season started. I mean, that's and Mazzulla did look lost at times. And so for Doc is coming on.
Whatever.
I can't wait. I texted you. I said I can't wait to see Phoenix sign him, because that's probably where he'll go. Because
I was gonna say get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. That's what I was gonna go. But
maybe Dylan Brooks can team up over in China then. But I would say I think the Nuggets have the upper hand in the Western Conference Finals. The East, I don't know. I really don't, because the one thing nobody's talked about yet, and maybe it's null and void because he's not going to be ready, is Mitch, when Tyler Hero broke his hand or wrist in game 1 against Milwaukee, they said it was a 4-week injury. It's almost approaching that timetable. Where is he at? If he comes back and adds what he is capable of, this series can turn all of a sudden, and Miami gets another score. But I think right now I'm probably going to say it's going to be Denver and Boston. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Lakers. Huge LeBron fan. I want to see him get another one. I think that series all comes down to Anthony Davis. Can Anthony Davis show up night in, night out defensively? We know he has not really showed up every game. It's typically every other game offensively, but can he limit Jokic? And if not, and the Nuggets win, I think the Nuggets are going to win the NBA Finals, because there's nobody in the East, Mitch, that has anybody the size or strength or that is talented enough to really slow down Jokic.
Well, I'm looking at this report here from Clutch Points. LeBron and AD, what was it? They're listed on the injury report. They're listed probable for tonight's conference opener in Denver, as LeBron's dealing with a sore right foot. Davis a stressed left foot. Both issues, however, don't seem to be serious enough to force the 2 superstars to be sidelined. So again, we'll see. I'm curious as to where these games will go, and I'm just going to enjoy it throughout the rest of the way. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening or watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button, hit the bell on here on YouTube. If you're listening to it on a podcast platform, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or SoundCloud, courtesy of Spotify for podcasters. Check out our website, BigTimeSportsOhio.com. You can find our latest game articles and broadcasts there. You can also find us on Twitter at BTS Ohio, or on Facebook or Instagram at Big Time Sports Ohio, and at Mitch Spinell and at Mitchell Balla, pretty much everywhere you can find us on these sites. Mitch, what's our fact of the day?
Mitch, your fact of the day is toenails grow faster. I'm sorry, fingernails grow faster than toenails.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't clip my toenails very often as much as I do fingernails. So makes sense. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.